Welcome back. In the last video, we talked about variables in Java. And in this video, we'll talk about some of the most common operations that we can do with the variables. So to get started, let's create a new class and let's just call it operators. And we'll get a lot of unnecessary code. So let's just delete it. And I already have this copy and pasted, but you have to type this out again. Public static void main string and then flat brackets, args, and then ending parentheses and then curly brackets. And then we'll be doing our programming within this space right here. So firstly, let's talk about the mathematical operations that we can do in Java. And these are thanks to the utilities provided by the high-level programming language. So these math operations can be done with data types that represent numbers. And from the previous video, we learned that those are both integers. So let's write that, integers and doubles. And there are five main math operations that we can do within Java. So firstly, there is addition. So first, addition. And this is done with the plus sign. So let's just create two variables really quickly so that we can demonstrate this. Let's have int hello is equal to 1. And let's have int goodbye equal to 1. If we system dot out dot println hello plus goodbye, the output should equal 2 because it's gonna do 1 plus 1. So let's compile our code and then let's run our code. And as you can see, prints out 2. So now if we go back, we can put in more numbers like 15 and 45, and it should give us 60. Yeah, and the same thing for doubles. One thing that's important to realize is, let's say you have a double and you add it to an integer, the final output will be a double. So let's see, it should give us 60.0 in this case because it changed to a double. Yeah. So now let's go back to our code. And now the second mathematical operation is subtraction, and that is done with the minus sign. So again, now let's say we have hello minus goodbye, and the system dot out dot println this, and let's comment out this piece of code right here. It should give us 15 minus 45, which is negative 30. And since it's double, we're having a double interact with the integer, it's going to give us negative 30.0. And I'll show you what it looks like right now. If I just change this back to int, it won't have the point 0. Yeah, because you can't have a points, you can't have decimals. And yeah, let's go back to our code. The fourth operation is multiplication. And the way you do that in Java is the asterisk sign, which is shift and 8. And, and now let's create a variable to hold whatever product that we get by multiplying these two. So let's actually call it a double, and let's call it result, and let's have that equal to hello times goodbye. I don't know what 45 times 15 is off the top of my head, so we'll see if the calculator gives a reasonable estimate. And let's system.out.println result, and let's comment out this piece of code here. And yeah, 67.5.0. And then let's say we change this to int, it should get rid of the point 0, which it does. Now let's go to our final operation, division. And in Java, it's used during the slash sign. So this is one of the more complicated operations within Java because we remember that integers cannot have cannot have decimals. So let's say you divided 5 by 4, it would really give you 1.25, but 0.25 is not accepted. So it would result in 1. So let's use an example. Actually, let's use that example. Let's comment out this piece of code really quickly. And let's do int result2 is equal to 5 divided by 4. If we system dot out dot println result2, we should get 1. Yeah, and we get 1. However, there's also doubles are allowed to have decimals. So if we do double result2 is equal to 5 divided by 4, I'm pretty sure it would still give us 1.0 because we're dealing with integers. But let's see. Yeah. So the way that we actually change this is we have to do 5.0 within our statement, because here's how the compiler will read it. It'll read this statement here, and then if this was a 5, it would result in an integer of just 1. And then the compiler would come to the left side of the program and see that it's supposed to be double. So it'll convert 1 to 1.0. However, if we put just 5.0 here, it'll know that this whole side of the equation will result in a double, and thus we'll get 1.25. So let's run it. And as you can see, we get 1.25. Let's go back to our code. Now there is also something very niche that you don't really see too often within programming, but it's useful for whenever we're constructing the logic of a program. Let's comment out this as well. And it's called the mod operator, which stands for remainder. So if you see this percent sign, it means mod or remainder. And let's give some examples. So let's say we have an integer 1 called 1, and we have an integer 2 called 2. If we do 1 mod 2, or if we do 1 mod 2, and let's system.out.println this, .out.println, we're going to get the result as equal to 1. And that's because 1 divided by 2 is not divisible into a whole number. So we have a remainder of 1. So if you were to keep this as an integer form, if we just did system.out.println and we just println this, and let's comment out this piece of code here, and let's put the semicolon at the end, we should get 0 because it's dividing a smaller integer by a bigger integer and it can't have decimals. But the similar concept applies with mod, that it'll just have a remainder of 1. So let's see. Yeah, it has a remainder of 1. So now let's come up with some more examples. 5 mod 2. So 2 can go into 5 2 times, but then there'll be a remainder of 1 because 2 times 2 is 4 and 5 minus 4 is 1. So let's just keep it that way, and it should give us a remainder of 1. So this is how logic is usually used to see if numbers are even or not, because anything, if you mod it by 2 and it gives you 0, is even, but if it has a remainder of 1, then that means that it is odd. So that's how we use the mod operator within Java. So now let's talk about the second operation that's pretty common within Java, and that's called concatenation. So in simpler terms, that basically means combining two variables or data types. And in fact, technically we were doing that here with addition as we're adding two numbers types together, but it's usually used in Java for adding a string value to another string value. And that means word plus word. So, and we'll just give that the definition of concatenation. So let's give some examples. So first, let's have a string called 1, and let's name that as hello. And let's have a string 2 called goodbye. And let's put the ending parentheses and nice. So now let's system.out.println 1 plus 2. And let's see what happens. And as you can see, we get hello and goodbye. Now, basically, concatenation with two strings just puts them together, just like glues them on. So for instance, let's say we had hello and my name is Raj. Let's system.out.println that. And as you can see, it will give us hello, my name is Raj. Now let's try it with some words in English that have two really words that comprise it. So walk, through, through. As as we'll see, it'll give us walk through. It gives us walk through. And now let's do welcome back. Welcome back. And it's also important to keep track of the spaces because they're not just blank characters, they actually mean something. So welcome back like this will look different than welcome back like that. The difference is there'll be no space if we don't have a space there. So yeah, welcome back. Also, it's pretty easy to get it confused with numbers. So let's try 1 and 2. And let's create similar integer variables. And we'll just call this int 1 and we'll put 1 here and int 2 here. And we'll just get rid of these quotation marks to indicate that it's a whole number, not a string. And if we do this, the first we'll put the string ones and then we'll put the integer variables. We'll see what the two outcomes are. Uh, 2, 2. So for the first one, we see that it's 12, and for the second one, we see that it's 3. And that's because for strings, they just combine them together, but for integers, they actually do the math that's associated with the as an operator. Now, it's also pretty important to realize that only strings can be added to other strings. Strings cannot be added with integers or doubles or booleans. So let's just try that out. Let's try to do let's have a integer, I guess, as the variable, and let's just call it storage equals 1 plus 1. And this one is a integer, and this one is a string. As you can see, they're not actually compatible. And the way that we actually make it compatible is by something called parsing. So let's create a more realistic example. Let's get rid of these prototypes. And let's say we're eating out at a restaurant, right? So we'll create a double and it's called bill is equal to, and let's say the bill was 147 and 47 cents. $147 and 47 cents. And now let's say we're gonna tip the waiter. So we're getting ready to leave and it's gonna be a goodbye and equals thank you for serving us. Here is the total that we gave you. And now let's say that you're just leaving the restaurant. So let's create a final string variable called leaving, and we're gonna put goodbye and bill together. In this case, it'll give us an error because bill is a double and goodbye is a string, and you're not allowed to add strings to any other type of data besides string. So there are three main ways that we can actually parse. So the first way is by following this format. So first we'll have a blank here, and then we'll have a dot to string, and then we'll have something go inside of the parentheses. So within the first blank goes the original type of the data variable, the one that we want to change. So in this case, we want to change bill, and it's a double. So in the first blank, we'll go double, and it has to have a capital D. And then in the second blank, So in the second blank, it goes the name of the variable, the name of the variable. And in this case, it's Bill. So let me just delete this and put Bill here. And now if we copy and paste this code and we put this before our final condition, we should get that this is equal to this will work and give us what we were looking for. And let's put a dollar sign here to make it a little bit more neater too. And then let's also just do a system dot out dot println of leaving so that we could actually see our output. Let's run our code. And as you can see, it puts the two strings together. And I guess I put an extra slash there. And let's see. Yeah, it works. So now let's go over the second method. So if we go here, that was the first method. So let's comment this piece out. And the second way is by having string, and then we have a blank is equal to the string and dot value of, and then parentheses, and we have a blank inside of there. So what goes inside the first blank? First blank is a variable name, any one that you want, and then the second blank is the variable you're trying to change. So in this case, let's just say this as Bill2, and let's say this is Bill. Let's see what would happen if we put that there. And let's put the semicolon. And yeah. And now let's run our code. And yeah, it gives us the correct value that we're looking for. Now let's go to our third and final way that we can parse. And the way that you do this is by putting string and then a blank and then string and then a blank equals new, and then you put parentheses, and then you do dot to string, and then you have empty parentheses, and inside the first parentheses you have a blank, and with before new you also have a blank. So let's go over each of the blanks means. So the first blank, it's the name of the new variable, name of the new variable. The second is the name of the variable you're trying to change. You are trying to change. And the third is the second is the type of the variable. And the third is the name of the variable you are trying to change. So let's look at this as an example. So let's call this Bill3 just to be safe. And since it's the type, our type was double. So we have to keep this as double. And then the name of the variable that we're trying to change is Bill. So this will be our new line of code. String Bill3 is equal to new double Bill and then dot to string. And let's see if that works. And let's comment out Bill2. And let's keep Bill3 here. And let's change this to Bill3. And then now let's see. And as you can see, it works. So those are the ways that we can parse within Java, and also concatenation and some more mathematical operations that you can do. So thank you for watching.